In the Gnostic text, there's a famous story about the Apostle John in his old age. And I've told this story before in another video, but I wanted to share this story now to talk about the topic of this video. Story goes like this. In Ephesus, and John in his old age, he was in the temple, and they were all talking about Jeshua and his teachings, and John was the last of the disciples of the original 12, still alive. He's the only one that actually survived to old age and died of old age. And they kept saying to him, tell us about Jeshua, tell us about the teachings. And he would get up and he would slowly walk to the front of the room, and temples all had a raised altar like a church does. And he went to the front of the room, and he went up onto the altar there, and he raised his hands and he said, "Love one another." And then he slowly turned and walked his way back to his seat. And they're like, "Well, tell us more. There's got to be more. There's got to be more to learn. You can tell us more." And John's response was, "I can tell you no more until you learn this." I wanted to tell that story this morning because I am often asked to give the secret teachings, or give the teachings that Jesus gave that weren't in the Bible. And I have to say that the one of my truest beliefs is that it's far simpler than man makes it, and that religions themselves are trying to make sense of it and adding stories and things around it. And I believe that story of John in the ancient times saying, "I can teach you no more until you learn this." I think the secret teaching is that there is no more than this. The reality of it is it's love one another. It's love and fear, period. And fear is you have the control over your fear. Your experience is created by your belief, and your beliefs are based in the balance of love and fear. And when people ask me for the secret teachings, there are no secret teachings. There are no hidden truths. What's hidden is hidden in plain sight. That we are supposed to live loving. We are supposed to, treat each other well. We are supposed to release our fears and then put our intentions forward lovingly. Create a heaven on earth by loving one another. And that's the basics of the teaching. I can get into very in-depth whatever, but it all comes back to that. When I told the story before about driving down the road with someone who was terrified of driving, and the person says, "Why do cars merge easily with you?" My response was, "Because I love driving." By putting love into the equation, I was getting a loving response. By putting love into the equation. So the secret teachings are less secret than you think they are. The secret teachings are really not secret at all. They're just so simple that it's hard for people to comprehend them. It's hard to think, how can it be that easy? It's got to be more complicated than that. A while back I did a video on the story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. And I talked about how their transgression was plucking fruit from the tree of knowledge, that trying to wrap our heads, our physical world knowledge, around something so simple and divine. And, there's a couple different things. Occam's razor says, given all the facts, the simplest solution is usually the right one. And when you look at water running downhill, it takes the easiest path. Nature itself takes the easiest path. And so nature itself is simple. And spirituality is just as simple, if not more so. Because when you look at the world around us. People want to quote the ancient text, or they want to create quote from we had one this morning that was quoting the Urantia book, and the Book of Enoch, and all. They want to go into these quotes and dive deep into all of these esoteric thoughts, and like the Urantia book. I mean, that was a guy who was trans-channeling in the 1920s, and they never actually ever gave his name. They just said he was a stock trader. And I found, quite honestly, I found some truth in it, and I found some information filtered through a human mind. So I did what I do with everything, as I read, and whatever feels right, that's what I follow. But when I look at the things that don't feel right in those books, in any book, including the Bible, or the Quran, or the Bhagavad Gita, any of them, any of it that doesn't feel right to me, I don't follow. But the idea that I'm hiding, or that there is a secret knowledge out there, is a fallacy. What it is, it's all there in plain sight. People just have a hard time grasping that it can be that simple. But it is that simple. And I'll tell you, the interesting, people always want the big light show, or the big spiritual experience. I've had amazingly large spiritual experiences by not looking for the way to get there, not trying to figure out the how, right? By letting go of all of the dogma and the tradition and the man-made beliefs that are around it, and getting very simple. People came to me with very different spiritual experiences, or spiritual methods, and I tried them all. I tried everyone that came to me. I was open to that. I know a lot of people who weren't. I know one person who has been a transcendental meditator for years, and he ended up meeting a guy who taught Kundalini yoga, and he wouldn't take the guy's class until he called the TM person in that area to find out whether it was going to mess up his TM. It was like, and to me, it felt like he was asking permission. Well, spirituality is not about one particular practice or another. It's about you coming to your personal truth, and you coming to that personal space. And for me, as the more I dug into it, and the more I studied, I studied everything. I mean, the Vaka Namrud, even Tony Robbins, Wayne Dyer. I did all the New Age stuff. I read on the Baha'i faith. I read on Wicca. I've read on all of it, and it all comes back to this one thing: create a loving world by living loving. And people go, it just can't be that simple. It's got to be more. There's got to be some secret that's out there. And Jesus had to be teaching, and he talks about taking people behind a rock in the Bible and telling them the secrets. Well, the secret that he shared to us is that God wasn't separate from us, that we are one and the same. The Father and I are one. That was the big secret, and that you are creative, and your creation is you and God as one. Well, as I said to somebody in a response this morning, he referred to God as Abba, meaning Father, but not out of a patriarchal respect, but out of a familiarity. It's like he's my dad. It was like he spawned me, and I'm part of him, and it was more of a family understanding that Dad and I are the same. And it's so interesting when I get, because I get the question about the secret teachings, or the things that aren't in the Bible, all the time, and the majority of the teachings are in the Bible. They're just surrounded by crap, surrounded by stuff that people wanted to add to it, especially a guy named Paul, who added a whole bunch of rules and regulations and convoluted junk around something so beautifully simple. And, it's a hard video to make for some people to watch, because when people are going to watch it, they're going to go, well, there's got to be more. There's got to be, and I'm telling you, there isn't, and there doesn't have to be. Live loving, and you will have the experiences. I mean, I had spontaneous Kundalini risings long before I started my spiritual journey, because I was just open to looking at whatever. I was just open. The more open you are, the more detached from any one thing being right, and the more you're willing to follow your heart, your feelings, you have found the secret teachings. The secret teachings is you are your own creator. You are your own truth monitor. You're on your own path. And someone else asked me yesterday about, they were telling you they thought they were on the wrong path. And there is no path. The path is where you put your foot. And so what you want to do is you want to stay true to love, stay true to being love, stay true to loving one another, stay true to bringing love into reality wherever you can, releasing your fears. Buddha says the secret to enlightenment is the eradication of fear. Right? The Sufis say that the veil is our fear, and we struggle against the veil. But our goal is to get past the veil and back to God. You want to look at the idea of all this as releasing fear, getting back into love, and you and the Father are one, you and God are one, you and Abba are one. And no, you're not a dancing queen, but you and the Source are one. And you're creating together as a unit. And there doesn't need to be any other secret teachings. There doesn't need to be any other information, because that's all there really is. I can teach you no more until you learn this. And once you learn this, I'll tell you there is no more, because of the fact that you will know it at that point. Oh, I'm starting to have my out-of-body experiences. I'm starting to have my transcendental experiences where I'm on the other side. I'm starting to have my Kundalini rising experiences. I'm starting to have all these things because I stopped trying to have all these things. And I started just being love and creating love into the world and releasing my fear. That is the big secret teaching. So you're in charge. You're in control. And you can choose to be loving, or you can choose to be fearful. And if you choose to be loving, you will have an amazing experience. If you choose to be fearful, you will have a fearful experience. And a lot of times when you drop into your fear-based beliefs, like I know people who've gone to the other side. Oh, I've read about people who've gone to the other side, had this beautiful loving experience, came back, and instantly started doubting, thinking it was demons trying to sway them, right? Well, the demons are based upon their earthly fear-based beliefs. The experience on the other side of unconditionally loving was the source. But they fell back into their velvet cage of their fears and anxieties. And that's why they now doubt that connection. But it's not about fear, it's about love. Be love, live love, and you'll create love, and you'll experience love, and then you'll realize that love is all. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.